two men from the water. One of them was in critical condition. The other was Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Tragically, the beloved actor died at the scene.
Pulled him up and put him on top of the surfboard and gave the 5 respirations.
Police in Costa Rica have completed the autopsy on Malcolm-Jamal Warner and confirm he did die of accidental drowning.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner's shocking and sudden death sent serious tremors through Hollywood. But the real buzz isn't just about what happened. It's about what's missing from the official story.
Doctors that were there, they worked on Mr. Warner for at least 30 minutes. And then he was unfortunately pronounced dead.
There's talk of foul play, weird gaps in the medical report, and a whole lot of silence from the people closest to him. Fans are asking, was this truly a tragic accident, or is there something way darker at play?
I'm tired of running for shade. And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got it made?
So what actually went down with Malcolm-Jamal Warner? The facts are eerie, and the hints behind the scenes are even scarier. In the days after his unexpected passing, the internet exploded with theories. News networks scrambled to piece things together. Tabloids pushed twisted headlines, and social media, it turned into a rumor fest overnight. But now, with the official autopsy report out and new info from people who were on the scene, we're starting to piece together what really happened. And let's just say, some answers only raise more eyebrows. Multiple legit sources like ABC News and people have confirmed this much. Warner died on the afternoon of July 20th while vacationing with his family on the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. Around 2 p.m., local surfers spotted a man and a young girl, later confirmed to be Warner and his 8-year-old daughter, caught in rough water near Playa Grande, a beach known for its deadly rip currents.
And I believe from Nicaragua that was there with a practice surfboard and was able to get the daughter out. He put her on the surfboard.
One surfer managed to reach Warner's daughter just in time and brought her safely back to shore. But sadly, Warner wasn't as lucky. By the time volunteers pulled him from the water, he was completely unresponsive. Paramedics from the Costa Rican Red Cross jumped into action, performing CPR for more than 20 minutes. But despite all efforts, Warner couldn't be brought back. The country's Judicial Investigation Agency later confirmed what many had already feared. Warner had died from accidental asphyxia due to submersion. In plain terms, he drowned. It was officially ruled an accident.
Police in Costa Rica have completed the autopsy on Malcolm-Jamal Warner and confirm he did die of accidental drowning.
But that didn't stop the media chaos. Even before any real facts were released, headlines were already running wild with emotional and exaggerated claims. Tons of stories painted Warner as a father who died heroically while trying to save his daughter. It was a dramatic and heartbreaking image, and that's exactly why news outlets clung to it. But here's the twist. That version of events isn't exactly how it went down. Warner was in Costa Rica with his daughter, reportedly involved in a homeschooling program. But there's a whole lot the press didn't get right. He was pulled from the water in critical condition and rushed to a nearby clinic in Lehman. After receiving emergency treatment, Warner was stabilized and actually discharged without serious injuries. That's right, he walked out of that clinic in stable condition with no complications. Dr. Mauricio Solano Carla confirmed that info to People, and another doctor, who chose to stay anonymous, told Us Weekly that they were just 200 meters away from the scene at Playa Grande. The beach was almost empty and the ocean was wild. I heard a commotion, the doctor said, so I ran over and paddled out on my surfboard straight into the rip current, heading toward the person others were pointing at. That person was Malcolm-Jamal Warner. After a few minutes, I saw a shadow dive down and pull the person out, the doctor recalled. There was even another beachgoer struggling in the water too. Someone who had jumped in trying to help, but without any rescue gear. First responders rushed in and started giving Warner CPR immediately. But sadly, he had no vital signs. A man named Leon told the outlet that 2 tourists ran over and revealed they were also doctors, making it 3 physicians on the scene trying to save Warner. The other person pulled from the water was taken to a nearby clinic in critical condition, but was later released. Leon also shared that Warner and his 8-year-old daughter got pulled into a deadly rip current off Playa Les in the Lyman province. A quick-thinking Good Samaritan managed to get the little girl safely back to land. Leon added, obviously as a father, he fought for his daughter, but the current was just too strong and they couldn't make it out together. Sources close to the situation later cleared up what really happened. Warner and his daughter were caught in the same current, but there's zero proof he was actively trying to rescue her when he drowned. The idea that it was some final heroic act, that's just not backed by facts. It was a tragic accident, plain and simple. But instead of respecting that, media outlets twisted the story into emotional clickbait, which only made things even more painful for his grieving family. And this ain't the first time.
Warner leaves behind his wife and his young daughter. He was just 54 years old.
Sadly, the media's obsession with jumping on a celebrity tragedy is way too common. The race to break the news turns into a circus of half-truths, shady sources, and viral hot takes that leave real people hurting in the shadows. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death became yet another painful example of how grief gets exploited, packaged, and sold like a headline before the truth even has a chance to speak. While the world was reeling from the heartbreaking news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, one tribute hit harder than the rest: Regina King's. The Oscar-winning actress took to Instagram with a quiet but powerful post that carried way more emotion than most realized. She shared a photo of Malcolm riding a motorcycle, along with the caption, "Some people leave a lasting imprint, not just for who they were, but for the energy they carried." In another photo, he stood tall on top of his bike, one hand raised to the sky. Her message, just 3 words: ride in power. It was short, raw, and packed with real emotion.
Grief is a journey, you know. I understand that grief is love that has no place.
But here's the thing. Regina wasn't just a friend paying respects. She and Malcolm had once been in love. Their connection went way back to the 80s. He was America's sweetheart on The Cosby Show, and she starred on 227. They didn't become a couple until 2011, but when they did, it felt real. Regina told Essence back then that their bond was easy. Malcolm and I have a lot in common. We were both child actors and raised by strong mothers with good values. Malcolm echoed the same vibes in a BT interview. We like to protect what we have because it's very special. It just makes all the sense in the world. But in 2013, their relationship came to a sudden end. No warning, no clear reason. Rumors flew fast. Regina tried to keep it graceful, tweeting, "Me and Malcolm-Jamal Warner are good. Life happens. Forward motion, Godspeed." Still, 2 years later in a Valentine's Day interview, she let some truth slip. Regina shared that someone had broken up with her on Valentine's Day, then had the nerve to send flowers afterward, saying, "I still love you." Her response, she tossed the flowers straight into the trash. She never said the name, but fans connected the dots real quick. Regina was talking about Malcolm, no doubt about it. Before their love story, Malcolm had been linked to his Cosby Show co-star Michelle Thomas, and later dated actress Karen Molina White. At the time of his passing, he was married and a father, though he kept that part of his life very private. In one of his final podcast interviews, Malcolm opened up just a little. He gave major props to his wife, saying that even if they weren't together, she'd still be the one he'd trust to raise his child. That says a lot about the kind of bond they had. After the news of his death broke, tributes poured in from every direction. Raven Simony, Tracy Ellis Ross, Eddie Griffin, and so many others. But Regina King's post hit different. It didn't feel like a typical celebrity farewell. It felt personal, like someone mourning more than just an old friend. For people who knew their history, that quiet Instagram post said it all. And for those who didn't, it was a powerful reminder. Not every goodbye comes with a spotlight. Some are silent because they still hurt too much to say out loud. Then there was Adam Sandler, smiling his way through the red carpet at the Happy Gilmore 2 premiere in New York on July 21st, 2025. But once someone brought up the loss of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, boom, the mood completely shifted. Sandler's whole vibe changed. His voice cracked, and for a second, it looked like he was fighting something deeper than grief. In a rare emotional moment, Sandler reflected on their early days together on The Cosby Show, where he played Smitty, Theo's buddy, back in the late 80s. His role was small, but the respect was huge. "Malcolm was so nice to me when I was on the show," Sandler said, his eyes clearly watery. "I was probably 18 and Malcolm was maybe 17, maybe younger. We'd go for walks, grab food, shoot hoops, chill on weekends, go to parties. He was just real.
I hate to bring up the sad news, but news did break today of the untimely passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
I can't believe it.
This wasn't just some surface-level Hollywood friendship. What Adam Sandler had with Malcolm-Jamal Warner ran deep. Their connection lasted decades beyond their short time on screen together. Sandler spoke with so much love about Warner's kindness, his calm energy, and the way he made people feel seen just by being around them. He even gave a shout-out to Warner's mother, calling her amazing, a rare mention that showed just how tight their bond really was. "He was so good to me as a person," Sandler said, pausing as the emotion hit. "I'm just sending love to the family. Malcolm is a true great person, hilarious, smart, just a great, great man." But then Sandler dropped a comment that made the whole room freeze. "I don't know, man, it just doesn't sit right," he said, his voice shaky. "Malcolm was careful, he was strong, something feels off." That one line, it cracked everything wide open. Suddenly, it wasn't just a moment of grief, it became the spark that lit up a whole wave of public suspicion. Could there be more to Malcolm's death than what we've been told? Officially, it was called an accidental drowning while on vacation in Costa Rica. Warner had been swimming when he got swept up in a deadly rip current, or at least that's the story. But folks who truly knew him are starting to ask some real questions, and no one's rushing to answer them.
We would take walks together, all of us, and pick up food, talk, played basketball, hung out on the weekends, went to parties together.
Sandler's comment may have sounded like raw emotion, but to longtime fans who knew Warner's personality, it hit different. This was a man who lived smart. He wasn't wild, and he definitely wasn't careless. Malcolm was known for being super private, ultra protective of his wife and daughter, and cautious with every part of his personal life. He never chased clout. He kept his family completely out of the public eye. Even in interviews, he stayed low-key, letting his work do the talking. So now, the silence around the real details of his death, it's starting to feel too loud. As Sandler told Entertainment Tonight, more voices from the entertainment world are speaking up. And one thing's clear, something just doesn't add up. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just a TV star, he was a thinker, a poet, a man with something real to say. After The Cosby Show, he made waves on Malcolm and Eddie, starred in Read Between the Lines with Tracee Ellis Ross, and built a solid name for himself as a director and creative mentor behind the scenes. He brought depth, soul, and class to every project he touched. But behind closed doors, Malcolm had been pouring his energy into something major, a memoir that insiders now claim was deeply personal and maybe even explosive. Word is, that memoir may have contained truths about his Hollywood journey, including the struggles he faced behind the curtain.
I was Malcolm was so nice to me when I was on the show, and we had such good times together. I was probably 18 and Malcolm was probably 7.
People close to Malcolm are now raising serious eyebrows at the way his death has been covered. For one, early reports said he was alone in the water, but he was on a family vacation. So where was his family during the incident? And why haven't Costa Rican officials been more transparent? There's been no detailed breakdown of the autopsy or full incident report. Everything's been locked up tighter than expected. That's got folks talking. Throw in Adam Sandler's uneasy comment. It just doesn't sit right. And now fans and media outlets are digging deeper, wondering, are we getting the whole truth? What is confirmed is that Playa Grande, where Malcolm's drowning happened, is notorious for being one of the riskiest beaches in all of Costa Rica. There are warning signs posted in both English and Spanish, alerting visitors to dangerous rip currents and high drowning risk. Yet, somehow, lifeguard support there is shockingly low. Right after Warner's death, a local volunteer lifeguard group, the Caribbean Guard, publicly called out the government. In a heartfelt plea to President Rodrigo Chavez Robles, they demanded change. And now, questions about Malcolm's final moments are only growing, while the silence around them feels more suspicious by the day. In a bold statement posted on July 21st, the Caribbean Guard didn't hold back. They demanded that the government finally step up. "We make an urgent appeal to minimize this problem," they wrote, warning that drowning deaths are on the rise nationwide. If Caribbean Guard didn't exist, drownings would count by the dozens. They laid it out plain. They're doing everything they can to save lives, but without serious help, public policies, government support, and backing from local business leaders, these tragedies will keep happening. Their message couldn't be clearer. This wasn't just a heartbreaking loss for Malcolm-Jamal Warner's loved ones. It was also a symptom of a bigger, preventable crisis that's being ignored. But you wouldn't know that from reading most headlines. The mainstream media barely touched that angle. Instead, the coverage got swept up in the usual hype. Dramatic headlines about Warner's final moments, emotional celebrity tributes, and vague, unconfirmed witness stories. The real issue, unsafe beaches, no lifeguards, and poor emergency infrastructure, got buried under all that noise. And the saddest part, Warner himself was someone who always stood for truth and substance. From his early years on The Cosby Show to his work in powerful, socially conscious dramas and spoken word projects, he used his voice to uplift real stories. But in his passing, the media watered down that legacy, turning him into just another headline. They stripped away the complexity and handed the public whatever would bring in clicks. He once spoke about a conversation with spoken word artist Tamika Georgette Mee Harper. When he told her the name of his podcast, she responded, "Ain't nothing wrong with the hood." That one sentence stuck with him. It made him reflect on how the media tends to box in Black culture, only highlighting the pain, never the beauty or brilliance.
Title is combating the narrative of Black life, Black culture that the media focuses on.
And now, with the way his own story is being handled, that message hits harder than ever. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was never turning his back on the hood. He was calling out the system that profits off it, twists its image, and still refuses to truly see it. In his own powerful words, the hood side, ultimately, historically, is what has always created American culture. That wasn't just a passing thought. It was a straight-up truth bomb. A message about cultural theft, erasure, and how Black creativity keeps getting written out, especially in places like Hollywood, where it should have been celebrated all along. Warner also opened up in a deep and personal way about how his mindset had evolved, especially around the phrase Black excellence. At first, he wasn't sure what to make of it. To him, it felt like it only celebrated fame or flashy success. But everything shifted after he learned something painful. Black soldiers had been left out of history books at Arlington National Cemetery. That shook him. It made him rethink everything. To Warner, real Black excellence wasn't about awards or magazine covers. It was about survival. As he said, Black survival in of itself is Black excellence.
The Black community is not a monolith. There's so many levels and lanes to the Black community, and we wanted to have a space where we could acknowledge, discuss all of those lanes.
Just survival. That line hit hard then, and now it hits even harder, knowing how quickly and unexpectedly his life was cut short. It's almost like he knew his time was running out and wanted to make sure his last words lifted up the truth about Black strength, struggle, and survival in a world that rarely honors it. And then, just 48 hours after speaking that truth out loud, he was gone. But the toughest controversy Malcolm-Jamal Warner ever had to carry wasn't one he created. It was a storm tied to his deep connection with Bill Cosby. This wasn't a scandal he could simply dodge or dismiss. For Warner, it was gut-wrenchingly personal. He was caught between public rage, private heartbreak, and the pain of watching the show that raised him, the show that made him a household name, fall apart in front of the world. To really understand how deeply all of this shook Malcolm-Jamal Warner, you gotta know just how close he was to Bill Cosby. Cosby didn't just cast Warner, he launched his entire career. At just 13 years old, Warner was picked out of a nationwide search to play Theo Huxtable. And on set, Cosby wasn't just the boss. He was a mentor, a role model, someone whose words stuck with Warner for life. Cosby gave him real advice too, like not using trendy slang and dialogue, so the show wouldn't feel outdated years later. Warner later admitted that Tip was solid, especially when he rewatched old episodes with his daughter. Their bond went far beyond TV. It was built on guidance, trust, and real respect. That's why the scandal crushed him. This wasn't just about a co-star's downfall. For Warner, it felt like he was losing a father figure. And the betrayal, it cut deep, made worse by having to process it all while the world stared. It was a role he never asked for.
My biggest feeling is I feel sad for just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come up.
Warner spoke out during that time, and he didn't hold back. He called out the media circus, not to excuse anyone, but to say the conversation lacked depth and fairness. Not all accusations were the same, and Warner wanted folks to slow down and talk about it with more care. But what hit him hardest wasn't just the headlines. It was watching The Cosby Show vanish, seeing the legacy of something so powerful just get erased. That broke him. He once said it was painful to see the show pulled from every major network. For him, it wasn't just a job. It was one of the few shows that showcased a loving black family in America. In a few generations, he warned, the Huxtables will just be a fairy tale. And beyond the emotional weight, Warner admitted the financial impact was real. Losing syndication meant losing checks. And he called out the hypocrisy too, pointing out how directors like Woody Allen and Roman Polanski still had their work in rotation, while The Cosby Show got completely erased. It's literally taking money out of my pocket, he said. In the end, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's reaction to it all showed just how much emotional weight he was carrying. He was stuck between loyalty to someone who gave him his start, the pursuit of justice, and the painful loss of something that had once meant everything to him.
After having had such a long path and long journey, you have something like this that you've got to contend with.
Now, as more truth surfaces, fans are left grieving, not just for his death, but for the way misinformation twisted his final chapter. It's a bitter reminder of how fast the real story can get drowned out by rumors and noise. Warner didn't deserve that. His daughter didn't deserve to be dragged into fake rescue tales, and his family definitely didn't need the added pain of watching his last moments get turned into a media frenzy. As it stands, the case is officially closed. Authorities have ruled his death an accidental drowning. But the bigger conversation, it's still very much alive. From Costa Rica's broken beach safety system to the media's obsession with drama over dignity, the consequences of what happened are still playing out. The autopsy gave a cause, but the impact, that part's far from over. If you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Share this video so more people see the truth, and we'll catch you in the next one.